Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nadia, and a week ago somebody who is currently studying at a coding bootcamp here in London asked me a very interesting question, which got me thinking, and I decided to record this answer so that others might benefit as well. The question was, imagine if you could go back in time and meet yourself at the point when you were just learning to code a few years ago. What advice would you have given yourself? That's a very good question. And I think that when we talk about giving advice to people learning to code, we tend to focus so much on the technical side of things, which makes sense because this is the tech industry after all. So we argue about which programming language somebody should learn in 2022 to get the best job, which framework they should learn, or which editor they should use. And while some of those things are important and you need to orient yourself in those things as well, I think we don't talk nearly enough about the psychological side of things and the mindsets and attitudes that somebody needs to have in order to succeed in tech. So this is what I want to talk about in this video. So if I could go back in time and meet myself, this is something that I would have told myself pretty early on. Hey, it's okay. You're allowed to be the worst. For me, it was very difficult to let go of my perfectionist nature when I was learning to code. Before starting on this technical journey, I was completely non-technical. I always paid attention only to humanities. I focused on languages, on literature, and history. Those things came very naturally to me. I had natural abilities towards them. Also, I worked very hard on them. So this combination of things led to me being very good at them. I was a straight-A student. I had a picture of myself in the school's hallway, and also I took part in English language Olympiads and won them. So I was very used to being always, a top student and always being among the best in the stuff that I did. So when I was learning to code, I clearly saw that this was something that didn't come as naturally to me as some other things did. And I struggled a lot, but also the benefit of learning on my own. And for context, I didn't go to a bootcamp, I didn't go to college, I was just teaching myself through various online resources. So I was alone, and the benefit of it was that I didn't have anybody to compare myself against. So if I was very slow, I didn't know it, So that was, good for my self-esteem. But then when I found my first job, and my first job was at a very small web development studio based in Warsaw, in Poland. So when I started working there, I immediately saw that I was among peers, and I could start comparing myself to them, which was really, really painful and very damaging to my self-esteem. My first onboarding project was to rebuild a subscription update page. So it sounds pretty clear right now, and when I think back on this task, I think that it is very straightforward. However, at that point, even understanding what needed to be done was difficult for me. Before I got this first job, I was only working on my own kind of toy apps at home, so things like a to-do app or like a project management app. Very simple, basic things that I was building from the ground up on my own, meaning that when I needed to add a new page to my own app, I knew how to do it because I also knew all of the code in this app because I built it. With working on the real app, which was fairly big, and the code base was fairly big and complex, it was the first time when I was faced with having to work with someone else's code, really. So of course, it was challenging, and it took me a couple of days, I think, to understand what needed to be done. And then the next challenge was to understand how to do this, and I had no idea. Then, how to write tests, how to make the code readable and maintainable. All of this was a struggle. And I saw that I was the slowest one, I was the worst one. It was pretty sad. However, for me back then, the choice was very clear. And if you are now in this position, whether you are learning to code, or maybe you got your first tech job, or maybe you got your second or third tech job, but this job uses a completely different tech stack, and you feel like you are starting from scratch and you don't have any knowledge at all, probably you have the same, you have the same choice in front of you. So one option is to admit that you are the worst in your team, that you are really slow, that you really don't get it, and maybe you're not meant for this, and maybe you shouldn't be trying. You are, who are you to try to be in tech? Clearly you don't have it. So you can just give up and go back to whatever you were doing before. And that's an option, and that's the option that some people actually choose. But there is another option. You can still admit all of this, and you can admit that you really struggle, that you're not good at this, you don't have the natural abilities for this, and you are slower than others. But this doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be in tech. This doesn't mean that you don't deserve this job. This doesn't mean that you should leave the industry. It just means that you need a little bit more time, and you need a little bit more support, and you just need a little bit more work and maybe encouragement from others. I chose the second option, and I'm glad I did, because then this realization helped me to always optimize for learning. So if I saw that I wasn't learning as much in a job as I could have, then I would start looking for another opportunity that would allow me to accelerate my learning. I also very often felt that I was the stupidest person in most of the rooms that I entered. I was sitting in meetings where I had no idea what people were talking about. However, I didn't let this discourage me too much. I would just make a note of the thing that I didn't understand. I would write it down, and then I would Google it, and then I would learn what it was. And gradually, step by step, things started to click for me, and they started to make sense. A very beautiful moment for me happened last year when I needed to onboard an engineer to our team. We pair programmed with him. And during this pair programming, I saw that I actually had things to teach him. I had something to share. And I had the knowledge that, for instance, he didn't have, because he hadn't worked with this particular language or this framework before. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually valuable, I know something now. And it was a nice realization to see that all the struggle was actually for something. So, you know what, if you are looking for the permission from somebody to stay in the industry, and if you're looking for somebody to allow you to be the worst, then I can be this person for you. It's fine. You're allowed to be the worst. You have the place in this industry. And even if you feel that this will be this way forever, and that you will feel this way forever, really you won't. Things will change. You just need to keep doing whatever you're doing. You just need to keep working and to studying, and believe that this will pass as well. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was inspiring and helpful to some of you. If you have any other questions about learning to code or finding your first job in tech, please let me know in the comments. I will be glad to answer them in some upcoming videos. Thank you so much. Bye.